age requirements get into the university. That also, I do not think that is the opinion of the.
Now, Professor Aaron, let me pause you now. I'm going to quote verbatim.
Yes.
It says, the other thing which we notice is the age of those who have applied to go to the university.
Yes.
Some of them are too young. We are going to look at it because they are too young to understand what a university education is all about.
Yes.
So I think that's what is causing all this
Yes,
conversation.
and actually I agree with him absolutely that the people that get into the university are too young. And I'll give you one example.
All right.
I wrote JAMB when I was a young man. I guess you did too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe your generation, your parents took you there. In my own generation,
No, I went by myself.
Went by myself.
I went by myself, yeah.
These days, there's no way they will go by themselves. I took my daughter there on Monday. That girl had never crossed the road before, but she wants to go to the university. Get the point? So when you bring children like that into the university system, you create other problems for those managing the system. So to that extent, that if it is a proposal for us to look into and up the age, the entry requirement to 18, makes a whole lot of sense. But when you want to implement it now as a directive, I have a big problem with that because,
Since you have a big problem with implementing it now,
Yes.
when should that be? When should the law be implemented?
Yes, I think it's a question of, I mean, if you put a law in place today, you give a certain period within which parents should begin to prepare, because there's a logic to which, that responsible for why children get into university at that age.
Can you give us?
Yes, first of all, I don't know where Nigerian parents are running to with the children. So some of them, if you want to send them to nursery school right in the womb, as soon as they are born, they send them to school. So by the time you know it, they get into primary school, and then they graduate at a very tender age. Of course, having left primary school at a very young age, you don't keep the child at home now. The child will have to go to the university, to the secondary school, and then they are leaving secondary school at 15, most cases 15, 16. My daughter, she's leaving 16, going 17, and I remember the other day she was not happy that her mate is now in year 1, and I was telling her that in sensible societies, people don't go to school as children, to the university as children. They go to university. University for young adults, not small children.
Sorry, let me come in now.
Yes.
I my introduction, I said that we are told that the brain works better when it is still young, the formative years. That's when it's good to impart knowledge. You're a teacher. What do you make of that?
Let me respond to you this way. Even the Holy Book says that there is time for everything. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes. University education comes with some level of freedom. I hope you know that. So when you give freedom to a 15-year-old child, you really ought to be under the tutelage of parents. A person can be let loose. And they come into the university because they're so young. They actually have no idea of what university is. I've been teaching for close to 30 years now, and I know what I'm telling you. Now, if I cast my mind back at some years ago, children who came to school knew why they came to school. The current generation, we are told to go to school by their parents.
Okay.
So they come to school. One of the things I find myself doing is I harass the children literally to attend classes. They don't want to come to class, and they won't telling you this.
And their parents don't know about this?
No, they don't know. Because in the first place, they live in all these, they call them lodges, private hostels around us. So sometimes they're just living there. Some boys with girls, they just live in the private hostels, and they like that comfort. When they have to come to school, you literally look for all sorts of ingenious ways of harassing them. In my own case, I tell them I'll give an on-schedule test. So that thing keeps them
on their toes.
They keep on thinking they don't know when Professor will give his test. So they keep coming to class because of the test. And my observation has been that the day they know that they done the test, the following week, you realize that the class becomes scarce. And not just that, yesterday, because I'm head of a department, a lecturer came to me to say that he was reporting some students to me, that he did the test the previous week, that this week he saw 50 people. I'm talking about a class of 200 people.
So should we do tests every week then?
Well, maybe we should just, it can't work that we can't do tests every week. Who's going to be marking that? So, yeah.
But the question is, how does this impact the
Let
society
it.
now, because
Okay.
now we're going. Sorry about the sorry about the, but we're going back to the very first statement I made, which is knowledge is power, and
Yes.
education is the bedrock of society. For society to develop, I mean, look at China. China was, China's development is based on its ability to acquire knowledge and
Okay.
impart its people with that knowledge. So, how does this impact Nigeria as a country? The style of learning that we see
Oh
now.
yes. The truth be told, I've had a reason to ask some of my students that where will you work when you leave school? Because at final year political science, you cannot write one single sentence. You cannot construct an argument. You can't make an argument. So I keep asking, so where are you going to work when you leave school? So things are really bad. The current generation, there are exceptional people living in today's world, in Nigeria today. But the truth of it is, the bulk of them, from that statement you made earlier, that education is a scam, and they have every reason to believe so anyway. I mean, they are ruled by people that are not educated. Some certificates cannot be found. Some all sorts of stories about those are governing us. So, to that extent, the children look at that and then they realize that what is education after all? Some even go to school, graduate, and can't find a job for 10 years. But of course, the truth is, education is not a scam. Education is still the way to go. So, one way or the other, because the children I do not even believe that the children who go to school these days, they have that inner motivation to go to school. It's just like something that happened. They finished secondary school, get to university, they know that's the way to go. I remember, I was actually speaking with my daughter. I was carrying that. When I took decisions on career, I was actually like in secondary school. But I think at that time, because of the age, I went to secondary school at age 14. So before I got to final year, I was in a position, because I was reading newspapers a lot, I was in a position to have people I consider a role model, and I knew what they were up to and they were doing, and therefore I felt inspired and said I was going to be something like this or something like a professor or something like that.
Could it be that there are no role models, and that's why the children are acting the way they are acting? Because, like you said, when it was time for me to take DAM, it was a difficult moment. What career path? Where is my strength? What am I good at? I asked myself all of that question, and it was a journey I wanted to embark on, because I believed going to school I was going to acquire knowledge and all of that stuff. Could it also be that the university system or the tertiary education system in Nigeria has become so lacking in essence, and that is why the students have also lost that passion for learning?
No. I think you're missing a point there. You said that when you wanted to go to school, so in other words, you thought about issues of a career, what you would like to be before you got into the university. Not so good. So what I'm saying here is that the children get into school at a time. The only things they know, I'm not sure that most of them don't like reading long things.
Yeah,
the current generation, they don't like reading long things. So they just see people like Burna Boy, this, that, they just, if you ask them, I asked my daughter, that who's your role model? And the person he called, was not known to me. And then she went on to tell me that I may not know the person. And I said, what kind of role model is it that you have that I wouldn't be able to know? And she mentioned one name that was not known to me, but she knows, in our world, she knows that person as a role model. But we used to know some big names in my time. This also person, professor, this also person, senior advocate of Nigeria, and as role model. But now she mentioned the name that was not quite known to me. In fact, wasn't known to me at all. But that for her is a role model. And the truth be told, the way people make money these days, and if money is the goal for education, you will actually realize that there are really no point to go to school. Because people make money by do one thing like that, you make money. And of course, if I may add, in Nigeria too, you can do one spit and next thing you're a celeb.
All right, we'll go for a quick commercial. When we do come back, I've got questions, concerning the school system in Nigeria. We do have the 6-3. Anyway, it's time for commercial break. When we do come back.
Headline News.
And Development Studies is the head of Department Political Science, University of Port Harcourt. It's good to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, before we went up for that break, we were talking about universities, the essence they bring. You mentioned the students are no longer, they're no longer keen in learning. You have to force them. You have to look for ways to bring them on board the learning process. We do have a
6334.
6334, right?
Yes.
System. I think it was brought by Obasanjo during his military era. I can't remember.
I think it wasn't Obasanjo. I think 6334 came somewhere. Certainly, I don't think it was Obasanjo.
Okay, but fine. We do have a 6334 system.
Yeah.
So it means that 6 years
in
of primary school,
3 years in junior secondary.
3 years.
Senior secondary.
So if we look at it at that point, that means you're supposed to be 14
years.
14, 15, 16 by the time you're done with secondary school.
No, actually, if you follow, this is actually, because you are supposed to have done probably
6 years.
6 years at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes, as a child now, growing up now,
Mm-hmm.
you are supposed to have, when things were normal in this country, children used to go to primary school at about age 5, age 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so 7. In fact, in my time, you had to put your hand across this way for it to touch this lower part of the ear before you are seen as qualified. That was a measure of who qualified to go to primary school. And actually, this measure coincides with 6-7 years.
So if what would a child be doing for the first 6 years?
Oh yes, the child is not supposed to be going to school from age 1. Children are supposed to be playing. And those that studied education, you realize that I think there are some theories that don't actually support children to be learning facts on the ABCD, And in fact, I am told by my friend who's in the UK that you don't start teaching little children ABCD, You just teach them certain things about the environment, names of certain things. You don't go straight to learn how to write. But in Nigeria, by age 3, children have started spelling and all of that. Where that leads us to, I cannot tell. So children are supposed to be taken care of by the home for a number of years before they start. So if you look at it this way, let's say 5 years at home, 6 years in primary school, that's 11, not so? 11.
I started primary school around 4 or 5.
Oh, good. That was too early.
It made me one of the smartest people on earth. I can argue that.
So that's the modern way we've all been doing. But you're supposed to be at home up to 5 or 6.
Okay.
So assuming you start by 6 years, by the time you do your primary school, you're done with it. You are 12 years old. Then you now go on to do, at the moment, 6 years secondary school. That's 18. So that will correspond to the proper age for entering to the university. But what we now have is that parents send their children almost like from the womb these days. The moment they are born, they're looking for where to keep the children. And then by the time they have started primary school at, I think they start like 3.
No, I think it's it's pre-nursery
Nursery.
and all of that.
Yeah, but sometimes the kid gets there and gets like so exceptional. You move him. I know one of my, I think that was my daughter. We had to skip classes because when we sent her to the school, she was just like the teachers with the opinion that like she was you're wasting the time there. So they suggested that we skip, and we skipped her by one class. I think two of my children were skipped that way.
So you're also part of the problem.
Yeah, but it was the recommendation from the school, So the point I'm making is that we need to keep the children at home for a reasonable number of years, 5 years. 6 years in secondary school, primary school. That gives us what? 11. Then 6 years in the secondary school. That gives us 17. So 18. We are in the university. So that's why I'm saying that it's not something you decree. You just come out, by diktat. You just say that 18 years. If you do that, you actually be creating a deeper problem that you intended to solve.
We'll get to the problem, okay. But I want to focus on this now. Now, you've said, start at the age of 5, 6, you get to the university by 17, 18. But what about, people who will take very long courses? Medicine, for instance. You do 6 years in university, 1 year housemanship. There's another 1 year stuff you have to do. It's professional exams and all of that. And by the time you're done, you've spent about 8 years. So that would be, 26? That's like almost half of your youth's gone. Then you now talk about, start looking for a job. And you know how it is in Nigeria. By 26, you're expected to have already gotten 5 years experience at the work that you're supposed to do. So these are some of the issues.
So, okay, just take a look at this. Even if it took 5 as your age of going to primary school, you will do 5 years in primary school. From age 5 upward, you do 6 years.
That's 11.
That's 11. Now plus 6 years secondary, that is 17. Then plus 6 years medicine, if you're doing medicine.
That's 25.
25 is not a bad age for a man to start life.
In our society,
yes.
they'll tell you you're late.
Yeah, but because of the pressures we put, and I've been asking, what is the essence of all of this? And is it to rush into unemployment? Because at the end of the day, when you graduate at 17 or 18 or 19, and then you come to this, there are no jobs. There are no jobs. So in fact, somebody was commenting that he stayed about 15 years before he got a job, and that not long after he got the job, he said he has about 25 years more to work and he'll be retiring.
Yeah.
So what's the whole idea of the rush? Because why would somebody stay for 15 years without a job? It's because you didn't have skills. No question about that.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay.
There's no question. If you say any first class graduate that graduates from university today and doesn't have a job for 3 years, he didn't end the first class.
How do you mean?
Yes.
I know someone in school who read and got his first class.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, tell me.
First class people are sought after. Even in this society where merit doesn't appear to reign. In the private sector, a properly organized company cannot be recruiting mediocres. They will be looking for the best brains.
Of course.
In this Nigeria today, that there are no jobs, we talk about no jobs. People are changing jobs every day. So it's about the employability. In fact, while we were in Israel for one training, the resource person actually drew a distinction between human resources and manpower. Manpower are just the human beings. But human resources are those people that really have proper skills to offer. And we have, most of the time, you go to a large organization, the bulk of the people have their manpower. They are not human resources.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
So I believe strongly, no first-class graduate, what is sought, will be in the labor market for even 2 good years. But people go to school, the type I told you now, to go to school was a problem. You cannot write a long essay, you cannot write one sentence, you graduate, you can't get a job. Except when you have some ethnic-minded person that is recruiting people in ministry and then passes ethnic people into the place. Otherwise, with the kind of people I see today in the university, I've had occasion to ask them, where will you work when you leave school? Because you can't write a statement. Your final year political science, and you can't make a sentence, makes no sense.
So
those are the people that stay for 15 years.
But you know, these are some of the people who have also become doctors and professors. What will you say about that?
Oh yes, I mean, the chicken must come home to roost. That's how it works. These people have also come back to become lecturers, and they have become professors. So
I did that intentionally because this is the system. I asked you if it is lacking in essence, and you know it felt like a wrong question. But these same people have graduated, like you've said.
Yes.
They have now become PhD holders and professors.
Yes.
And so what do you make of that?
Oh yes, this society is a society that is very conscious of qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
Even in my time, which is not too far, it's not like ancient history. In my era, people who were not seen or believed to be brilliant didn't have any business with a PhD. But these days, the kind of PhD that I see, the kind of people that are getting PhD are answering doctor, and of course that translated to the kind of people that I see answering professor. Hey, only God knows where we are going. So that's it. I wouldn't say more than that.
Now that we've brought in the lecturers,
yes,
and we've said parents are sending in their children too young to universities, let's talk about protecting, because you know when we're done with, let's use a university for instance, it says the certificate says in character and in learning, right? Let's talk character. You know, we've seen lecturers and students online, you know, there was one in the UNN, the lecturer has now been let go. What is it with all of these things happening? Who is now imparting character? Who is not molding the children? I mean, there's also a cause for concern.
You know, I think, who was it that sang this song? You ask me now, who I go ask? See, the problem we have now, the problem of character is a serious one. You just pointed out one at UNN. Before I saw the UNN, there was also one that my university, had the fortune of being associated with,
But I think the school has denied and said it's not part of the school. You know, I think I saw a news about Penu, the publicist, saying something that the lecturer was not of Uniport.
No, well,
and it's been investigated.
The one I know is that the VC has set up
a committee
to look into, and I think they certainly mentioned that they said they know the person. I don't know whether the peer university said they don't know the person. I will not be. I get you. But the authority, it's a serious crisis with training, like you said. Who is the person responsible? And I speak here as one who has been in the system for a number of years. I've actually been teaching for about 30 years now. Started as a young person.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, and there are many things that are going on in the university system today. What you see once in a while, it is bad. Much more
that we're not seeing.
Oh, yeah, we're not seeing. Of course, when it happens, I normally have a good laugh. Because when it happens, it goes involved in the same art. Some of us write us because I know some of the people that do certain things in the university system. Now, so a whole of the whole of the system that it will take some real reorientation to change the system as it is. Otherwise, we'll continue to be witnessing some of the things we look at the UNN thing. Look at what they said was so I couldn't plan to be a wife. What if you do tell your children, we do tell your community, because they will be stupid not to say they were set up.
Now the question will be, if we really had young adults, would this happen? You know, maybe we could link that conversation we're having.
Yeah, well, if we really have, people that are a little bit mature, some of them will know when to resist. Because some people actually come to school and they believe that they are completely helpless. I remember clearly when I was at the College of Education and there was a particular case of sexual harassment, and it got to my knowledge, and the student sounded so helpless that they told her that she should just go and get it done, or that's what I seniors told her. I was trying to encourage her that it's not that way. Why sexual harassment continue to persist in the university is because victims don't speak out. If victims speak out, no system will allow that. I mean, look at what you saw in UN. Is there any way Universal Nigeria can keep that man in the employ? No way. Okay, the other one, they said it's Uniport, but some people, they said it's not Uniport. Is there any way that somebody who is found in that circumstance can be in jail or so. He's actually
I
undergoing
think, yeah,
trial,
it's going
but I
trial.
think they denied him bail. So if you continue to speak out, those things cannot continue. But students don't speak out either out of fear. They fear that, the man will do certain things to me, or they fear that some even wrongly believe that the entire university system is constituted in a manner that if you speak out, you are doomed.
But I do agree.
But it's
I
not-
I do know people who spoke out and
Yes.
got the rage of other lecturers. I'm not going to mention school. I'm not going to mention lecturers' names,
Yes.
but it did happen.
Well, that and the university did not take any disciplinary action against the lecturer.
The lecturer had stood before a disciplinary committee and was able to
And
defend himself.
survived.
Yeah.
Well, I
Okay. These are the issues.
Yes.
But one more still staying on character and learning. There's this issue of handouts. In my time, it was not a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess these days they force them to buy textbooks. You are head of department. What will you say about that?
Yeah, well, I am head of department. I used to sell books when I was young, but I've long got done with sale of anything to my students. I've not sold anything for the past probably 10 years. So I just stopped because there is something. Truth be told, sometimes we don't like the truth. Of course, the truth is always inconvenient to hear. A lecturer has no business selling a book.
Interesting. I wanted to get that from a lecturer
yes.
because I do know people. I might be buying textbooks for someone, and that's why I asked the question. And the person is also in university, but I'm not called the
But
department.
I need to. I would like you to give me an opportunity to clarify that, so
Okay.
that people don't just crucify me. I have
Alright.
colleagues.
Yeah.
A lecturer has no business selling a book.
Okay.
Categorical statement number one. Books are sold in a market. Also, a lecturer has no business publishing a book by himself. Do you understand?
Interesting.
Yes. These are all the challenges of the Nigerian university system. But you see, let's get back to the basics. The system is also constituted in a manner that allows for some of these excesses. Let me declare here again, the money I am paid is not what I should earn anywhere in the world.
I agree.
And so if I don't do other things to make money, how am I supposed to survive? But some people, they're able to develop their skills, they go into consulting. Because as people who have skills, PhD holders, naturally they ought to be consulting, doing one thing or the other. Everybody cannot consult. So some people take to other ways, I was doing some consulting, but I think I felt at some point that my needs are more than what I earn after laboring to write reports, and so I do other things. I do other things to get.
You've told me
Yes,
about your
yes.
agricultural skills.
Other
now.
legitimate things.
Yeah.
You understand? But so those who cannot do legitimate things now prey on the students. They go back, they extort money. It's not spoken. I was passing somewhere, and I heard these children saying they were on their own.
I could show you my WhatsApp message
Okay.
with someone, and every send me money, I would not pass the test
exactly.
if I
Those
don't.
are- yes.
So I wanted to ask that.
Yeah.
But let's open the phone lines and get thoughts from our listeners. Okay, I think I do have a message from my boss, and it says Babatunde Fafuna, I think, was the one who brought in the 6334 system.
But Favuma would be Babangida's time.
I think so. Yeah. All right. Under Babangida's administration, my boss does say. All right. So let's open the phone lines. Get your thoughts quickly. We do not have much time. But what do you think should be the entry age for tertiary schools? College of Education, university, polytechnic. What should be the entry age? You also want to put into consideration or cognizance the economic factor, because I guess a lot of parents are thinking of how they can push their children to get that burden off them. But what are your thoughts? 0817 923 0002, 0817 923 0003, and 0817 923 0007. I hope the phone lines are working better now. Let's do WhatsApp 0809 030 6416. And this one says, good evening, Mr. K. Batsubo. I think I've skipped that story, so I'm going to move on. He said, said the prof in the studio taught me a GSC course in the then COE. How is in Uniport? Jane from Bury is wondering. This one says, I think in most cases, it is the mothers that influence the idea of enrolling teenagers into universities, and they do this for competition just to boost their ego among their fellow women. Greetings, Professor Aaron. I won't forget what you did for me in my school days. Remain one of the best pool admin from Hector. I've got Toby from HA. Toby, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
Good evening, Mr. Kalada.
Yeah, Toby, welcome.
And good evening to the Prof in the studio, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so Prof, while you were talking, I was just smiling. In fact, I was laughing out loud because you were speaking fact. These young children, we just finished writing JAM. By the way, I'm a teacher. So I can understand exactly all that you are just talking about in the studio. You find out that these children leave school. You're even generous to say 16, 17.
Yeah,
We've got lots of them 15. In SS3 who are 13, 14. The parents, like you said, you talked about the 6-3-3-4 system. A lot of these children don't even do the 6 years primary. Most of the private schools and other institutions
5 years
run their schools just to basic 5, primary 5. And even some of them struggle to go through that primary 5. At primary 4, they are already rushing them out of school, sit for entrance exam into secondary school, and some of them at SS2, they are taking their senior WAEC to leave school. And at 13, 14, you see a child who cannot even tell what is on the form she is carrying, he is carrying, but is preparing to go to university. And when you meet them at the university campus, that's why they are easily exploited, because they don't know their left from their right.
All right.
Easily exploited. And this is a very big challenge to the educational system. They look lost in the campus. For every little news, they are carried away.
All right. Toby, I've got to go.
I think that as a solution to this, we should tighten up our policy. Put up policies, educational policies that will drive this.
Are you there,
drive
Toby?
these things to the very end of it, and see to it that children of the right age to before they come out of secondary school. That is really going to help these children, and parents should stop rushing their children out of secondary school.
All right, Toby, thank you very much. I've got to go. I've got Jerry from Ozwoba. Oh my, I missed the school, but do forgive me. There is a Dr. Mary Barango Taria who says, concerning the age limit on university entry, you wouldn't blame parents for taking such actions when there is age barrier with regards to securing job opportunities in private organizations and a few government parastatals. What would you say about those Nigerian families in the UK? And then I read your messages, Dr. Mary. When I do come back, I do have a commercial, and then we would have the prof's final words on this conversation, and we will talk more during the open season. I read your messages, I'll take your calls. Prof, you seem to have a lot of your students listening.
Yeah.
So let's go for a quick commercial. When we do come back, we will talk some more. Just stay tuned.
You are tuned in to 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Luxury Gardens and Luxury Gardens. Wow. Service plots with C of O at Honorable Rotimi Amechi Drive, GRA Port Harcourt, now selling. Be counted among the fortunate to enjoy luxury and serenity in a secure estate with the following features: top-notch security, asphalted road network, a good drainage system, electric power supply, and other wonderful facilities just to give you that luxury experience. Price is unbelievable. For more inquiries, please call the number 0816-564-0902. That is 0816-564-0902. One more time, 0816-564-0902. Luxury Gardens, the home of your dreams. Powered by F Global Properties Limited.
Jollof is king, but what makes it so special? It's the symphony of aromas that follow wherever it goes. The scent of well-fried tomato and pepper mix, the fragrance of sautéed onions, the
I'm sorry, really. I wish we could drag on this conversation, but time is fast spent. And Dr. Mary Barango Tara, please do permit me. I would read your message. I promise you after the news. I know I said after the break, but now after the news. But let's get to hear from Prof. Prof, your final say. I saw a message where someone talked about we don't have academic advisors. I have also seen a message where someone is strongly disagreeing with you because he says, talking about parents forcing students to go to school and all. But let's get your final words.
Okay, so my final word is the lowest entry, age requirement is something that is worth exploring and what insisting on. 18 years is a good one. But I don't want the Minister of Education to wake up today and say that it will apply to this session that we are in, where the children are written jam. That will also amount to sound very much like waking up to tell us that subsidy is gone. Subsidy is gone. Taking subsidy may be a good thing in the circumstances of Nigeria, but going about it the way we went about it is, working hardship for the rest of us. So in the same way, if we wake up today and say, that 18 is the requirement for this year's admission, we are going to create a bigger problem that we have, because these young children will have to stay at home for 2 years doing nothing, and a lot can go wrong with the children. Yeah,
and I do agree with you, but I've got to go as well. It's time for the major news at 6. Constance Mega standing by to station to 92.3 Nigeria Info.